Well, I'm live. Hello and welcome to the approximately zero of you listening. I've got a raging audience out there, which is probably for the best. I mean, this is more for me than anyone anyway. But I don't know. It's been rough going lately. It hasn't been the greatest of days, and you got to wonder sometimes what exactly the function of going live and spilling your guts is. But I've found for whatever reason, I guess in a sense, it makes it real. It gives it a permanence. If anything, it gives it a record that the event happened at all. And even if I am a bit of a hermit, a shut in, that the depth of my social life is cat and this microphone. Um, in the big stream of things, we still, I guess, are a pack animal. That's what we evolved from. There is still the sense of a tribe of man, I guess, and sharing your hardships and joys with your fellow man, I guess, serves some sort of function psychologically, and I do know that it makes it better on some degree. So here we are. As I've reported in the past, um, it's been rough lately. A lot of very difficult things have been going on. Some you know, some you don't. Uh, as we've all been watching unfold outside our window, or at least across the screen, um, various forces are trying to destabilize our nation. Meanwhile, in personal life, it's also gotten rather difficult. Um, as I had mentioned before, we've got family on the East and West Coast. We've got family in Chicago, and they're all experiencing varying levels of violence. And that has made things that much more difficult. As Kat said, I believe last night, her father's entered the terminal phases of cancer, and she's going to be leaving soon to go see him. The amount of time he's got is not long. Meanwhile, where she's going is into the heart of the storm. Um, One of the places where buildings are on fire and people are shooting at each other. So while we may be safe here in lovely Mesa, Arizona, where she's going is not so good. Um, I'll be staying home, holding down the home front. More out of we just can't afford for both of us to go more than anything. I wish I could go with her, but I guess the real nail in the coffin today, so to speak, was the ongoing drama with my family. Now, I think many of you may have heard, many of you may not have heard, that things have gotten increasingly difficult with my family. That growing up, I had a very left-leaning family. Not, yeah, they always said they were liberal. They're not liberal. They're closet Marxists, or at least LARPing Marxists. And like all good Marxists, I suppose, they're rich. To tell you the truth, I've never met a poor Marxist in my life. Kind of interesting, right? And they live in a nice, safe community with a nice forest around, artificial forest around them in California, where poor people are a nice, good 25 miles away. So, they're thoroughly baffled and confused when I tell them that there's violence outside and things are rough, because they have been assured by Rachel Maddow that that's all propaganda and that the protests have primarily been peaceful. Um, and when they called today, they asked me how I was doing. I told them it was very rough here. Things have been going very badly. And ever since I got to Arizona, I could tell they weren't too thrilled with me being here. That it was very clear they wanted me to fall down on my face and come running back home to the hellhole that is California. And God damn it, if they could not contain their joy in hearing that things weren't well here. They were rapidly disappointed, of course, when I told them that, oh no, Mesa, Arizona is the one bit of stability in my life. No violence, life's back to normal. We can go to the store, we can go out to dinner. No plague, no riots, nothing. It's fine here. Yeah, this evil red state, can you believe it? Peace, order. People are smiling. People can go to Walmart and church, believe it or not. So, yeah, their hopes that I had finally fallen on my face were quickly quashed when I explained that no. The issues regarding why things are rough was, first of all, Kat has family in Los Angeles, in Inglewood, and every night this week, or 2 weeks now, I guess, has been nonstop gunfire at night, and they're left kind of just locked down in their home, waiting till daylight. And as my parents told me, well, the news says that really isn't happening. That there hasn't been much violence at all in Los Angeles. That it's all been peaceful. So I guess again, what the TV screen says is far more real than what the people experiencing the violence have said. I mean, I had more respect for my parents. I did not think they were this much of a. I did not think they were drones like this. That whatever comes out of that box is reality, apparently. Whatever the Minister of Propaganda, Rachel Maddow, says is law now, apparently, that determines reality. And so after being told that the violence in LA isn't real, and that I then explained that on the other coast, where Kat will be going to see her dying father, and I explained Mike's, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say his name. I explained his situation. They know he's conservative. They know he's worked for the arms industry and other organizations in government. They didn't really seem all that sympathetic. And that was heartless, in my opinion. And I explained that the real problem was not only did COVID fuck up all the testing he needed, and that Virginia is still locked down, so it's very difficult to get the appropriate medical attention. Sure, apparently you can riot and burn shit down and loot houses, and you are completely safe from COVID. But if you need to see your doctor in Virginia, that's a different issue, apparently. Oh, the wonders of living in a blue state, huh? But I explained that to make matters worse, my father-in-law, his neighborhood had been targeted multiple times, announced on Facebook, no less, that it was going to be looted and burned. And there had been lootings and houses being burnt down in his neighborhood as he's dealing with this as the final days of his life. And what did my parents say in response to this? Oh, well, it's not so bad. I mean, it's been very clear that the protesters are only hitting commercial districts. And I said, no, they're not. They're burning neighborhoods. But apparently Big Brother, CNN, said that no, that's not happening. So apparently that's reality to my parents. And again, any real life experience, I guess, doesn't matter. The TV tube has decided for them what reality is. And they asked me about Kat's aunt, who's looking over things and taking care of Kat's father for the time being. And they asked, well, where does she live? And I said, well, she lives in Los Angeles. And well, oh, good. She lives in Los Angeles. And she's planning on leaving because she's sick of this shit. And then, of course, that was bad too. But I guess really what culminated in the blow up with my family, because I had remained pretty deadpan through all of this. I haven't been in a great mood. Is I asked them how they were doing, and they said that they've been really, really wanting to go to the protests in downtown San Diego. Yeah, and that they wish they could be out there, but the COVID. And I asked them, well, why? What would you be protesting? All 4 cops have been arrested. They're charged with murder. They're behind bars. The FBI was on the scene the day after the murder occurred. I mean, the whole country pretty much agrees it was murder. What are you protesting? And I got some long, rambling vagaries of how black men need to be treated better in this country, and that cops have been executing blacks for decades, and that until that changes, the protests need to go on, and going on and on about how this is just a continuing outgrowth of the civil rights movement that they supported in the 60s. And I asked them, well, did the civil rights movement shoot people? And they told me that there aren't any shootings going on, that the protesters aren't shooting anyone. And I said, well, yeah, most of the violence is Antifa. And my dad then very vehemently and angrily barked over the phone, "There's no such thing as Antifa." So I told him very calmly, "Then you're a moron." And I hung up on him. And then I wrote an email after thinking about it for about 15 minutes, and I told my family that I would have somebody come over and get whatever things I had left at their house once the shit is no longer hitting the fan, that I wanted them to get rid of all their pictures of me, that I wanted them to write me out of the will, I wanted them to go on with their lives as if I never existed and to never call me again. And I don't regret a word of it. I've been trying. I have been trying with these people for the last 4 years at least, and with my father longer. And I didn't even want to bring up this shit. I was just talking about what was really going on in my life. They were the ones that made it political. I didn't mention Black Lives Matter. I didn't mention Antifa. I just said flat out, there are rioters in Virginia burning and looting homes in my father-in-law's neighborhood. That Kat has family in LA that are hiding at night because it's constant gunfire in the streets. I didn't even get into the family in Chicago. And my family are so wedded to this narrative of Orange Man bad and anything MSNBC and the New York Times and CNN say is reality. And we always laughed at that scene of the one reporter standing in front of the skyline on fire with people in the background looting and fighting, and him saying, well, it's mostly a peaceful protest. And we all laughed. It's like such a blatant denial of reality. And then it suddenly, now I get to learn that no, that audience, the audience that guy's speaking to, are people like my parents, who can see an egg-headed reporter in Coke bottle glasses telling them that it's mostly a peaceful protest. Well, it's plain to see in the background that an entire city's on fire and people are looting. And they are so fucking blind and so much deep into the cult that they believe it. They believe that despite what their eyes show them, well, the man on TV said so. It's amazing that these leftist children of the 60s, who were all about rebellion and changing the system and power to the people, all along were such complete fucking drones. They were fucking drones. And it doesn't surprise me, actually. I mean, the more that I look into the truth of the 60s, and you start actually reading what these people said, and you start seeing film footage of what was going on, It was LARPing. I don't think even then most of those kids knew what they were doing or what the significance. That all that 60s protest shit was really the honestly, it was the equivalent of Bieber mania. You know, it was the same hysteria we saw teenage girls go through over Justin Bieber. The difference is that it just involved carrying signs and breaking things instead of wetting their pants over Justin Bieber on stage. Mindless. Utterly fucking mindless. And hold on. Give me a second. I've got to ask Kat something.
Yes. What's it?
Well, now that I've completely burnt bridges, is it okay to talk about my brother, or should I just not?
I can't make that decision.
Legally speaking.
Well, as long as you don't name names, I mean, it's really more a case of there's no proof that we can produce.
Oh, sure. We know they're doing it.
Well, yeah, we know
that. They announced it.
Well, they announced it, but...
You don't sound comfortable. I won't do it.
No, that's not it. It's more... I'm not worried. I mean, we're just stating facts. So,
yeah.
I mean, if the state they're in doesn't consider it bad.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's really the thing. The state that they are in doesn't consider it bad. So.
All right. Well, before 2016, before the madness, the 4 years leading up to it, I had gone back and forth with my dad quite a bit, ever since 2014 at least, about Antifa, which at that time he always downplayed as, oh, they're just against fascism. Now they don't exist, apparently. But, you know, I was experiencing the cultural Marxists and feminists and identity, race identitarians destroy and dismantle my my social circles, my career, or not my career, but my industry, comics, and then publishing, and destroy gaming. And time again, my dad was on the wrong side of the issue. And it didn't matter how many times I blatantly proved to him that the Politico and the Atlantic and New York Times and MSNBC were lying. Did not matter how concrete the proof was. It never, ever changed his mind. Ever. And I kept telling him over and over again, this is personally damaging me. Tried to explain, and it just would not sink in. Or more, I think it's a refusal to. Now, again, no offense to you Christians out there. Yes, I have a youth of being the angry atheist, and I'm still an atheist. But I've come to really respect you guys, amazingly. One thing I've learned now that the cards are down and the masks are off, the real Christians out there, what I respect most about you is that you have a moral compass. And it doesn't even matter if I disagree with you on some of that moral compass. You're honest. You believe it. You live it. And if someone disagrees, you'll sit down and explain why. And you'll listen when somebody says why they disagree. I mean, so this is not a slam on you guys. I have an incredible amount of respect for you guys. And I will say time and again, as an atheist, I envy the security you have in knowing whatever comes next. But my parents' zealotry to this bizarre far left ideology of identity politics and feminism and all that garbage is very much akin to the born-agains and fundamentalists I used to meet in Southern California, who were generally good people in every way. They were intelligent, decent people in their own personal lives, but it did not matter. It did not matter what level of stupidity some extremist group would do, or what asinine crap or bullying crap the Harvest Church would do, or the Westboro shitheads would do, or there were other groups that were local to our area that really were just fucking assholes. My experience, and this is one of the reasons I'd kind of grown to resent Christians when I was younger. And no, I was an atheist before the resentment, guys. I've always been this way. It's just who I am. So don't think that's what caused it. I mean, my mother tried to make me a Catholic, and I failed at it. Okay, they just, for some reason, I just don't have the ability to have faith. Okay, and that was when I was a very small child. But no, these assholes would do these things, and then these good Christians that I knew would just always make the excuse of, oh, well, they probably didn't really do that, or, oh, it can't really be that bad, or, oh, Christians would never do that, or it was for the right reason. And that's one of the reasons I used to really resent Christianity, or not Christianity, Christians in general, was that excusing of bad behavior. To your guys' credit, you never excused shooting people. You never excused anything like burning an entire fucking city. That's my parents. You know, the people that they think they agree with are burning down entire cities and shooting people and wrecking lives. First, it was from within, destroying industries one by one, destroying communities one by one. Now it's a hot war. Now they're actually burning cities. Now they're actually attacking people. You know, Cassandra Fairbanks, who was an acquaintance of mine, they shot her house up. I mean, Tim Pool's been getting severe threats. Do you guys remember last year when Sargon got attacked? I forget who it was. I knew somebody who got knifed in a bar in LA at VidCon because he had edgy humor and said stupid shit online. I was like, what the fuck? And my parents are completely willing to excuse the behavior as either not real, or it's not as bad, or you know what I'm saying. And that had been going on since 2014, as me repeatedly trying to get through their thick skulls this identitarian shit, these political correctness shit. The feminism was damaging and it was causing problems. And the worst part is they even used to play the same game that everyone else. Oh, that's just a few overly zealous campuses in California, Northern California, and New York. Just, you know, some of those really liberal schools, you know how they are. They get a bit over the top. It's not a big deal. And yeah, right. You know, when Berkeley got burnt down by Antifa, my dad said that it was secret Nazis. Yeah. So it had been going on for a while. And I remember once I asked my dad, well, when your group decides that I'm the enemy, will you come for me? I have my answer now, don't I? I'm sure if the fuckers burnt my house down or shot it up, I'm sure my parents would come up with some excuse about, oh, well, it was probably secret white supremacists who did it, or it probably wasn't as bad as he thinks. So there's that. But then since the election, and it just went thoroughly nuts, and you've heard my stories about it nearly driving 01 out of business, 01 Publishing. I kept telling my parents over and over again that they would need to knock off the anti-white racism. I have a wife who even though she's mixed race, she's very, very pale and looks very, very much like a Celt. And It's really just not appropriate at every family gathering for all of them to just sit there and go on and on about stupid white people and how white people were the essentially the scum of the earth. Um, or to like blow up into screaming fits about white people in the middle of a Starbucks. I mean, in retrospect, watching my mom do that is kind of funny, but at the time it wasn't. He was like, "Oh, look, the crazy ethnic lady's going bonkers." Well, she's probably got her good reasons. So yeah, a bunch of guilty white people looking at a ethnic woman going bonkers. I say ethnic because my mom's side of the family is crazy mixed. It's not even worth breaking down how mixed that side of the family is. Uh, Look, let's put it very simply. Dad's side of the family essentially is Celt, Black Irish, a little bit of Welsh. Mom's side of the family is super mixed, but not white. Does that make sense? I hope so. Um, anyway, it was just this escalating thing where they refused to believe. And when I started, kept saying, "Stop this, it's wrong, I don't want to hear it," I was accused of being a white nationalist twice by my family, twice by my father specifically. And when I defended Milo Yiannopoulos' right to speak, and I defended PewDiePie's right to have a channel, my sister went after me and my wife with a vengeance. And I won't tell Kat's part of that story because it's not mine to tell. But essentially, it was my sister's attitude was take the knee and shut up. There was no compromise. It was essentially, I was a moron. I didn't know what I was talking about. That Milo and PewDiePie were the greatest risk. That they were the beginning of a new Reich against the Jews, and I was enabling white supremacists. And the Cat and I were racist anti-Semites for being okay with a gay Jew who was married to a black man telling jokes that her and her circle of friends didn't like. And just to clear things up, my sister is married to a Jewish man. Actually, honestly, the thing is he's never pulled any of this shit. If anything, he's the nicest. He's really nice. He seems very down to earth. It's never been an issue, but should have been an issue to my sister. And she wouldn't bend. My family just kept saying, "Oh, well, just tell her she's right. Just agree with her so we can all get along." And I refused. I was not going to accept the label of anti-Semite. And I even asked her once, I said, "Well, what's the difference between an anti-Semite and a racist? And is one worse?" Didn't get an answer. Did not even get an answer. I think I know now, but I'm not sure. As I had mentioned before, when I figured my brother and sister married Jewish people, I would gain a greater understanding of the culture, and that, like everything else, it would just be integrated in, but it didn't go that way. Being that I'm from a very ethnically mixed family, and we come from all over. So, you've got people in the family who are, atheists, Catholics, Mormons. You go down the list, and I have a Buddhist and New Age hippie types. And Christmas was kind of an interesting gathering because, there was a lot of irreverence, but it had always been everybody brought their culture with them. And no, I don't mean the food thing. I hate that. "Oh, well, we got the tacos over there and the hamburgers over that." That's not culture. No, what I mean is the traditions, the various stories, the I guess the ritual of those holidays all got mixed up together. And that was great. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. It seemed like it was always an issue after that, especially with my brother's wife. I could be wrong. I'm only talking from opinion. I could be totally wrong here, but it seemed to me that There was everyone else's traditions and then their traditions, and never the two should ever dare touch each other. And I don't understand. I still don't get it. I don't understand why. I mean, if Mormons and Catholics and New Age freaks can welcome an atheist like myself into their house for their celebration and enjoy it together, I don't see why we can't bring the menorah and the various traditions they had into the party too. I just don't get it. But no, my sister was vehement that Kat and I were anti-Semites and facilitating the next Reich against her people. Yeah, my sister has got to be. Ever since she became Jewish, she's become quite. I don't know. She had a name for it herself. I forget what it's called. She called herself. Do you remember what the word was?
No, I don't.
Was it Yenta?
No, not Yenta. Wait, are you talking all the
Yeah.
Jewish women?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're Yentas.
She kept calling herself the Yenta. She was a Yenta. Fuck if I know what that means exactly. I've seen various online descriptions. I'm not even going to pretend to say I know what they are. I will admit my pure ignorance on the subject and don't want to even speculate because I don't know. But yeah, she was quite the Yenta now, and I don't know. I don't fucking know. But the one thing I refused is I would not go along with it because I was not going to fucking set foot in my sister's house as long as she held the opinion, as long as she held the opinion that she thought that Kat and I wanted her entire family dead or in ovens. And if she couldn't grasp why that was deeply insulting and why I wouldn't happily wear that label, I'm going to leave it there. I can't go any further. I can't say any more on that subject. It just makes my blood boil. And I know that I stumbled a few times in their rituals, but how was I to know? Nobody fucking told me. Maybe if somebody had fucking told me first, I would have gotten the ritual right and not offended anybody. Shit. On top of that, then, that was the first real, that was the second. The first was when my family, and I do mean not just my immediate family, but extended, all get together and just go on about hating white people, including my dad, Mr. Pale himself. Jesus. But the nail in the coffin was when my brother decided his 3-year-old daughter was no longer a girl. And that they started going through all those hoops. Now, there was such a blow up over this last time. I'm not going to go any deeper than that. I just said I wouldn't participate and I would not be a party to that I didn't believe it was okay. I just don't believe that a 3-year-old has the wherewithal to decide something like that. No more than a 16-year-old dropout has any business dictating economic and environmental policy, or that a bonehead from who ditched the day that his school got shot up should decide gun policy in this nation. No, kids are kids. There's a reason you can't drink till you're 21, okay? Can't drink till you're 21, can't vote till you're 18. Let's leave it that you can't decide you're a different gender until then either. How about that? And frankly, I doubt it really was the 3-year-old's choice. So here we are. I've pulled the plug. It's over. I don't know if I'll ever hear from them again. I hope I don't. I really hope I don't. I was serious. Write me out of the goddamn will. Go on with your lives like I don't exist. Get rid of all my pictures. And just leave it at that. And here we go. I've left a permanent record of it. I've voiced it to whoever the fuck wants to hear it. I'm going to go through and read these comments. I think another thing that really pissed me off is I tried so hard. I was so goddamn patient. I'm a little worried about money too at this point with Kat's father passing and just all the things that's going to entail. But that's a different story. That's temporary. That can be dealt with. I guess that's a minor concern. These are the lifetime concerns. You know, we only get so many days, and I've been aware of that ever since I got shot in the back after 2 weeks after my graduation in high school. I was caught in a random shooting, and it really fucked me up, and it gave me time. One of the things I came out of that was, one, knowing for a fact that evil is real, that it is not some abstract concept, and two, that our time here is limited, and that you don't waste it on stupid shit like this. And apparently you do. And I guess in my position as an atheist and a non-believer, these are all the days I'm ever going to get, so I would rather they not be wasted. But I don't really know what the hell the rest of them are thinking. I don't even think they live in reality anymore. Let's see. All right, let's go through the comments. John Pyro, do my parents, regarding where my parents live, do they still have cops there? Oh, yeah, you bet they have cops there. They've got plenty of cops there. Not only do they have cops there, they've got neighborhood watches, and some of the communities near them even have private security. My parents actually have a fair amount of money. And, you know, like most rich liberals, they don't ever have to deal with the hell that they're raining upon the rest of us. You know, I won't say who, but I've got a certain family member who's ridiculously wealthy to the point of being near the top of the 1%. And diehard liberal has not come across a single tax that they did not want to get passed and voted for. But then they also go stash all of their money in the Cayman Islands so that they don't have to pay the taxes themselves. No, it's people like Kat and I who work for a living who get to pay it. I will it. I'm sorry your parents are liberals. You know, if they were really liberals, real liberals, classical liberals, it wouldn't be an issue. If they were limp-wristed liberals, I don't even think it would be an issue. No, they're Kool-Aid drinking leftists. Or that they're NPR liberals who really fantasize about wearing that Che Guevara shirt and being part of the revolution. That mythology of the 60s never left them, I guess. As computer robots, Ishi, I'm so sorry that you have to go through this with your parents. I really hope this will help you become a stronger person. Yeah, well, I think I'm already a stronger person. I was strong enough not to take it and go away. But I appreciate the sentiment all the same. Loyal opposition. I walked away from mine 12 years ago, not for political reasons, but they were abusive jerks. Well, you know, it's the political reasons that are spurring them to be abusive jerks, or that's the, I guess the artifice of their asshole behavior, that their diehard zealotry. You know, I really figured that they would do something with their lives, live a bit when they retired. They instead, their social life is the Democrat Club, believe it or not. They're horribly offended that I think Joe Biden's a joke. I will it. Don't cut them out. They're not bad people, just misguided. I really, really appreciate that. I will it. No, they're bad people, or at least I think my dad is. And the reason I say that is misguided would still appeal to the better nature. When push comes to shove, you would show sympathy for a dying father-in-law, not immediately cling to your propaganda narrative that makes you feel safe at night, makes you feel right and just and morally superior than everyone else. And that's what a lot of it is they like this feeling that they're morally superior, that they're just. So, no, that's at least amoral. Misguided people, you can appeal to their better nature, and I've been trying for the last 6 years at least. Computer robots. I know they're parents, but I believe that there's going to be a time when they're going to need you when they get old and karma's coming. Oh, I know that. I know that for sure. Because I know that my brother and sister aren't going to do fuck all for them. And you know, the killer thing is one of the reasons I've been staying in San Diego is I figured I would be the one doing something for them when they got old. That they were reaching that age where they would need somebody in town that could be 15 minutes away from their home to help them out and be there. No, they pushed me away. Apparently, kneeling at the altar of social justice is far more important. Okay. Computer robots, Ishi, we're always listening here. Listen, we're always here for you and Kat, no matter what happens. I deeply appreciate that. I mean, my only regret is that some of you guys weren't a little closer. I think Trenton's closer, and I'm really sorry we didn't get to hang out with you last weekend, Trenton. If you're listening, I think you can understand why we didn't call you back. Elton, I guess people dream that this control would come. Terrifying. Okay. Dominic, so sorry to hear that you and Kat are going through this in these trying times. Don't cut your parents out, as they will come. There will come a time when they may need you. However, ultimately the choice is theirs. Oh, I have no doubt that they're going to need me. I'm pretty certain that there's going to come a time where I'm going to be what they always wanted me to be, which from day one, my mom had always wanted me to be the loser who stayed home and would take care of her in her old age. And I do mean that. She had big dreams for her daughter. And then my younger brother was the baby. And I was supposed to be the one who never went to college and never amounted to much, and lived with them and essentially was their social security. I never fit that mold. And there's a lot. What's been going on, there's a lot of questions that have been flying around in my mind, a lot of things going on in my head. I've been kind of back and forth on how much to share. Again, I guess this makes a document of it, makes it real. Regarding that, my relationship with my parents has been always bizarre. The one that I've been struggling with most is finding out just how much of the past had been lies, how much of it wasn't true. Growing up, I had my head filled with, on my mother's side, all sorts of bizarre ethnic bullshit, ethnic pride, ethnic lineages, backstory. Certain people are noble, certain people aren't, that kind of crap. And in recent years, as I've done my own research online and I've started piecing things together and finding the truth of various events that have happened and who people are in my family, I'm finding more and more that a lot of what I was told isn't true at all. And some of it I can forgive because I can understand the embarrassment. Some of it I think is just sick. And I think constantly trying to force an ethnic identity on me was pretty low of my parents and my mom especially when I looked into that ethnic identity and turned out we honestly don't know the truth. We really don't know the fucking truth. Um, Piecing it together, getting the real story from certain people, looking at lineages. I won't get into it deep because I only want to say the parts I know for a fact. But when you look at great great grandmothers on my mother's side of the family, um, one was a prostitute and another was a concubine brought over by, not a mistress brought over by a wealthy man in Europe. I can understand why you'd want to lie about that past to a point. But then to completely make another one up, I don't get. And that fucks with you. That really, really fucks with you, especially when you keep getting forced with other groups of people. And they keep saying, oh, yeah, they're just like you. They're the same race as you. And you see them and you realize that their upbringing, they don't look like you. They don't act like you. That their upbringing is nothing like yours. That you share nothing in common with culture. And that's been very unnerving. And I don't want to get into which parts of the ethnicity I'm talking about because I said my mom's side of the family is like crazy multi-ethnic. Okay, it's not even worth getting into because we'd be talking about fourths and eighths and twelfths percentages of things. And really, when you think about it, when you're that mixed, isn't that the beauty of America? It makes you an American, right? It fucking makes you an American. Why romanticize any one little fragment of your ethnicity and ignore the rest? Or why do I have to hate the white side? I mean, that was bullshit. But the other nail in the coffin that's really been fucking with me is a story that my mom told me from my earliest age until now. And she still thinks it's a fun story that she just loves to tell everybody. And that was when I was born. She said that she thought she'd been given the wrong baby, that I wasn't her kid, because I had pale skin and strawberry blonde hair. Well, gosh, I am half Celt. It's kind of that's not abnormal. Now, sure, that pale skin did kind of get a little darker and turn kind of a olive color. And my hair turned pitch black very quickly. But, to this day, she talks about, oh, I would always shove whenever you would cry, I'd shove you into your father's hands and say, here, he looks like you. He's your baby. He's not mine. Or, I'd always look at you and I think that's not my baby. They gave me the wrong baby. And that was always the story. It was either they gave me the wrong baby or you're your father's child. You're not my child. And then she said, well, and then when your sister came out and she had darker skin, her skin wasn't white and her hair was pitch black and full head of black hair, I knew that was my baby. And she said the same thing about my brother who came out with skin that wasn't white and had dark black hair. And I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a connection yet. I'm trying to piece it together myself, but you don't tell that to a kid at any age, And just why would you do that? So I guess I'm not sure where this fits into it all, but it's all tied up in there. And that's kind of why I just don't want anything to do with any of them anymore. I mean, they obviously don't like me, or they don't like me when I decide I'm going to be an individual, that I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going to fall into the role that was expected of me. that I'm going to write my goddamn books. I'm going to live the way I goddamn please. I'm going to make my own decisions, and I won't go with the hive mind. And that I won't accept anyone else's bullshit and kneel just for the sake of, I guess, what, domestic peace among the family. It's why? I mean, they never showed that patience in return. You know, it was always one way. Elton, I wonder what caused thus passionate, sometimes fanatical connections with socialism that people started to have. My personal opinion, two things. Socialism and Marxism, the core principle is not sharing. The core principle is that all relationships, I mean, you can read Marx, it's in there. All relationships, from the most basic, husband and wife, brother, sister, friends, it does not matter, from the most infinitesimal small relationship. And some have taken it so far as to saying as things as simple as cell structures have this, all the way up to the macro scale of, organizations, clubs, governments, nations, planets, orbital rotations are all based on an oppressed and the oppressor. So what the Marxist science would deem that the sun is oppressing the earth because we're bound to it and must follow its guidance. On a more slightly sane note, you would say that the government's in charge, so it's the oppressor and we're the oppressed. But I mean, even going into a marriage and thinking, oh, well, who's ever in charge is the oppressor and whoever isn't is the oppressed. And therefore, that's how moral justness is decided, is the oppressed person is morally just and the oppressor is always evil. That is the basis of every Marxist structure and relationship. And I'm sure that really appeals to people who feel weak and really want an excuse to hate people. And to top it off, Marxism also says, and not only are they oppressive, all your failures in life are their fault, and therefore you should be able to do whatever you want to them and take their stuff. Sounds a lot like feminism, doesn't it? So I think it's kind of a mixture of that and that the baby boomers destroyed religion, and a lot of them, despite their claims, weren't equipped mentally to live without religion. I mean, some of us are, but I think the vast majority of humanity needs that structure. Even if they just accept it as being symbolic, they need it. And when they, I think it comes down to religion. I think it's the new religion for the left. ADMW. Damn, this excusing of bad behavior is exactly why I quit JWS. Hiding pedos and shit. I don't know what JWS is, but let's see. Trenton. The narrow mindset that caused me to pull away from the faith, the LDS Church, pull away from my faith, is the LDS Church. It's gotten better, but still too many two-faced members who feel comfortable with them. Okay, yeah. Isn't that the flaw of any dogmatic organization, though? And my feeling is for those of you who can't, those kind of groups and faith is not for everyone. I don't want to get into my views too deeply right now. It's not the point of the conversation. But put simply, you can believe these were handed down to us by God. I think that we just evolved them, and we evolved them for a reason, these morals, these social structures, and they need to be valued. And why I mean, I think that we evolved them. Oh God, see, we've already got me off on a tangent. Screw you guys. Sorry. Me and my goddamn rats that I'm always talking about. I keep rats, and I've seen rats with altruism, with senses of humor, charity, bravery. I've seen rats do things that animals in the wild or wild animals aren't supposed to do, like bringing food to a sick rat that it has no connection to, no relation to. Isn't you can understand litter mates caring for each other, but rats that were complete strangers for the first time, tending each other, caring for each other's wounds. Rats freeing others from traps they didn't know. Rats caring about, showing me sympathy. I mean, I have seen time and again rats exhibit frontal lobe brain behavior and things that you could classify as altruistic and moral, as well as immoral behavior. Clearly, that species is evolving something akin to what we have. Did God give it to them? I don't think so, but maybe you guys do think that. But it's not important. At the end of the day, it's there. We developed it either by God or by the hand of chaos or evolution. We evolved that over billions of years. The fact is here, it's worked for a reason. It's kept us alive. It's made us better for it. And the dumbest thing we can do is reject it and say, yeah, we've got to act like animals. It's fucking stupid. I'm sorry, where did I go with that? But my point being is that most people can't function without having some sort of religious body. So yeah, it's fucking stupid to reject the church. Even if you don't believe it, if that church does something for you, if it makes you a better person, if it makes you connected to your fellow man, if it gives you connections and a community, why give that up? Seriously. That makes no sense. I mean, except the miracle that it exists at all. That's a wonderful thing, right? But for those of us who don't get along with groups, I don't play well with others. I don't do well with ritual. I just don't. I forget where I'm going with this. I'm sorry. I've had a bad day. Yeah, I understand your frustration with religion, but by and large, I've found most religious people to be very decent. Didn't Tim just get a firearm? Yes, Tim Pool just got a firearm, and now he's constantly justifying it to his audience. It's hilarious. Tim, just admit you've taken the red pill and you're not going to vote Democrat anymore. Come on, nobody will think any less of you. Your cool skater friends won't, well, maybe they will hate him, but I used to think I was a liberal. I guess in the classical Jeffersonian sense, I still am. But the fact of the matter is, I used to always say, well, feminism, whatever it may have meant, is poison now. Why hold on to the label? And when I realized I was holding on to the liberal label and it was poison and I really was getting nothing of it, why should I hold on to the label? They're a bunch of assholes. So no, I'm not a liberal. Let's see. John Pyro, they're the type to erase history instead of learn from it. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, revisionist history is perfectly okay. Let's tear down the monuments and burn the books. Computer robot. Anyone who wants to share their thoughts on similar situations with their families, it could help ish as well. Yeah, maybe we can do a show like that. I mean, I've been on for an hour, and I don't fare longer than an hour with my voice giving out. But I'll try and get through your questions. I'm almost gone through most of them. Wolf 10 Media. What frightens me is the theory that I've heard recently. What's the theory you've heard recently? Spy Eye Guy. Milo is a gay Jew. And you know what? Milo got a raw deal. When they all came for him, I am thoroughly disappointed with the fact that the skeptic community and the intellectual dark web, instead of circling the wagons and protecting an innocent man, they all distanced themselves like fucking cowards. I mean, there were a few. Sargon sided with him. There was one other person I know for sure protected him. I think Dave Rubin spoke up for him, but on the whole, yeah, they all chickened out and ran. And that is why SJWs and Marxists keep taking over organizations, is because when somebody gets targeted, we're not protecting them. We're not circling the wagons, picking up the guns, and pushing back. And I mean metaphorically guns. Okay, picking up the memes and pushing back. Trenton, the left makes you bend the knee and say you're sorry and then destroy you anyway. Yeah, and the thing is, I probably would have become the whipping boy if I had bent down and just put up with it. Yeah, you're right. I'm a terrible anti-Semite bigot who hates trans people, hates trans 3-year-olds. I'm a terrible person. Yeah, I probably would have never heard the end of it. Panda power. I'm sorry, man. I have no idea what you're going through. Sometimes I'm glad I have a few mildly racist uncles. I never actually hurt anyone, though. They never actually hurt anyone. Well, that's the thing. There's racists and then there's racists. I mean, there's the people who say racist things, and then there are the people who do and support racist things. And clearly, the left is in the camp of saying and doing and supporting. If you got your redneck uncle who's talking about, I'm trying to think of a racial slur that won't get me kicked off YouTube. Oh, I'll use one my grandpa used to say it's probably so dated it won't get me in trouble. My grandpa used to always go, "You see them jigaboos over there?" The thing was about my grandfather, on my mom's side of the family, I really liked my grandfather, is he said all sorts of crazy racist shit. But you know what? He only said it. He only said it, and he said it always as a joke to show it didn't hurt him. And because he had always felt discriminated against. But let me tell you, when it actually came to actions, when the Knights of Columbus were supporting, was it the proposition to block gay marriage, my grandfather stood up, told them what he thought of them, and gave up his membership. And that group meant so much to him. He gave up his membership to the Knights of Columbus. He took in various people of different races throughout his life because they lost their home or their kids had no place to go. So in principle, in action, the way he lived his life, the guy was a wonderfully giving man and had no racism in his heart. But if you heard him talk, you'd think he was Archie Bunker. What's worse? A man who talks like Archie Bunker and does good things, or liberals who claim to do good things and then shit over everyone and keep black people in ghettos? Victor Wolf, that when MLK was assassinated by the white supremacists to let us have our freedom, and knew that we would do nothing at all, that we would be slaves and complain. Oh, I don't know. I don't know enough about that to really say. Didn't the assassin recently claim that he didn't really do it, that he had taken the fall for, they blackmailed him? I don't know. Try some Jordan Peterson vids. They may help sometimes. Oh, I totally dig Peterson. We need him more than ever right now. It's a real shame that he's been taken out for the time being. And I do think it's a little suspicious what happened to him. I can't help but think so many people wanted him out of the picture, and then suddenly he's out of the picture. Maybe it's a coincidence, but it's a little odd. And it's also a little odd that the moment he was taken out of the picture, all of these newspapers and various rich people were gloating about it. Unless the small Wolf 10 Media, unless the small majority would see through what they were doing and making something of themselves, but would be ignored. I'm sorry, I can't read right now. I'm getting tongue-tied. Wolf, sorry if I lose track. Keep in mind, you guys are all names on a screen to me. I mean, you're real people, don't get me wrong. I'm getting a feel for your personalities. I like all of you. But unless you've got a little face in your avatar, I have no idea what race you are. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're UN Spacey from Macross, as far as your face is concerned. But if I recall correctly, you are black. Maybe we can talk about this. But the thing I keep getting is I keep seeing all this rage, and I keep seeing all of these white people begging forgiveness. And it seems like the more forgiveness that's begged, the worse it gets. And I've just got to wonder if the white man is to ever if there's ever to be reconciliation with the white man, and for him to ever give reconciliation to the black man for slavery, I think first the black man's going to need to learn to forgive, because that's what I'm seeing right now. Is I'm seeing a lot of people who just want this over, except Black America. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a ignorant idiot who's speaking out of his ass. But what I see is a lot of black people who have no interest in forgiveness. And I really fear we're coming dangerously close to that part where white America says, you know what, they're never going to forgive us. And then that guilt's going to turn to rage and resentment. And what comes next is horrifying. Okay, yeah, Trenton's post, Wolf, about LBJ, I think is far more accurate. LBJ was a shit president and a horrible person. I also blame him personally for most of the deaths that we saw during his term in Vietnam. That guy was an archetypical modern-day lefty Democrat piece of shit. He actually is kind of the model for the modern-day Democrat in a lot of ways. Okay, let's see. Oh, damn it. I'm sorry, the scroll's going too fast. All right, let's see. Wow, 49 of you have stuck with me after all my silence and all that. Let's see. Okay, let's go with ADMW. That's fucked up. I'm mixed and I never got all the race obsession in America. I naturalized in 2018, but I got here at 7, so it feels weird to me. Oh, where are you from, man? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to tell me. William, so what you're saying is, at this point, you wouldn't be surprised that there's Klingon in there, right? Yeah, exactly. And so much of it's been made up. Okay, Panda. My mom was religious, but she hated churches. My mom and my paternal grandma got along, but Mama required me and my sister to go to Bible school, and it pissed her off. I never knew why. You know, I don't really resent catechism when the nuns were teaching it. When the parents at the other church were teaching it, they were whack jobs, and that was a waste of time. But when I was having nuns teach me, it was actually deeply educational. I don't mind the knowledge I have of the Bible because of it. I actually enjoyed it. It was only when they went to the Franciscan church and they started having wingnut old Mexican ladies teaching us instead of the clergy, and that, oh, I got some fun stories about that. You've never heard a version of the Bible like hearing a crazy old Mexican lady tell you what the Bible says as she's making it up as she goes along. YouTube is recommending some of the Scandinavian music lately, and it makes me want to go get a fire and go put some more paint on. Must be some of my Germanic and Celt blood coming through. You and Kat both, dude. Kat's essentially, I mean, despite the Filipina and some of the other stuff in her, she's primarily Celt and German, and that kind of explains her build now, doesn't it? Oh, man. That also explains when she gets angry and she sees red and breaks a few objects. That hasn't happened in a very long time, fortunately. Can I tell them about the wall?
Yeah, go ahead.
She put her fist through a wall once.
Once?
Okay, more than once. Well, there was once you did it really impressively, and I got to admit, even though it was incredibly damaging to the wall, the amount of fist you got through the drywall was just really impressive.
Was that in the bathroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awaken. Okay. I reckon reading Lloyd Thompson's classic academic work, Romans and Blacks. He was a black, Barbados-born, Oxford-educated Nigerian classicist, and he demolishes his modern claims about racism and race. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that actually sounds fascinating. The educated class Nigerians are an interesting people. I mean, it's kind of a weird situation in general because, I mean, Nigeria is, a nation that's full of, terrorism and people that are executing their kids because they think that a witch or demons possess their child. They have police that are convinced that weregoats are roaming the streets. I'm not shitting you. This is real. And I'm talking modern day, not the past. But yet then, so you've got this one large group of people in Nigeria where it's essentially still a primitive nation with technology in it. And then you've got this educated class of Nigerians that might as well be fucking geniuses, or they're all just brilliant to all hell. So yeah, I bet he's got some very interesting insight. Drekken, sorry about your family problems. I've been trying to get my father's family out of my life for decades. He died and it's happening, but discovered just how fucked he and they left me and my mom. Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. Intersectionality is pretty much the way to segregation. Yeah, and they're going to get it if they don't knock it off. Individuality is the antithesis to the intersexual hive mind. Exactly. A lot of the time, cultures seem like a prison to me. I hate that I feel like I have to say that, but I do believe it. If you don't act the same, you're a freak. Same thing, different people. True, but the thing is that America is unique in a way that we were able to escape so much of that for a while. That sure, we had a lot of the same problems that the rest of the world did, but we also, because of the brilliance of our founding fathers, had the tools to fix them, and we were doing a damn good job of it if you look at them at the whole of history, or for that matter, the rest of the world right now. And then the 60s happened. And the first thing they tried to do was dismantle those tools that were bringing unity and understanding and the melting pot. You notice they didn't have done away with the term melting pot, because melting pot does not imply separate groups. It means we're all contributing, that we're all talking. No. They definitely want their ghettos on the left. And question any group that wants a ghetto or wants to live in a ghetto or wants to self-segregate. And I don't mean, oh, I like that kind of neighborhood, I'll live there. I mean, literally, we all must think, dress, and act the exact same way to be in this neighborhood, and don't come in or we'll kill you. That's what I mean. Trenton, Titanium Rain is on my next payday list. Witcher book I got. You know what, Trenton? Definitely get Titanium Rain. Keep in mind I was a little more liberal when I wrote that, but I think you can see definitely I was moving fast and quick away from liberalism, or the liberalism that exists today. But I'll be upfront with you. The version I like most, even if you read the book, listen to the audio. I like that version best. Fag Bile. I'm sorry, and I mean no offense, but your mom seems like a bitch. The strange thing is after menopause, she got a bit better. But yeah, she was really psychotic in her youth. There's a lot of stuff that does not need to be mentioned here, so I won't bring it up. But there's some rather nightmarish stuff. Neostar. If the oppressor cannot control you, are you actually oppressed? Good point. Computer robots. I think when the baby boomers caused the destruction of religion, really did put them at odds and tension with the parents of the silent generation and the greatest generation. And they were so neglectful of their own kids that, strangely enough, and I think this is one of the saving graces of Gen X, is so many of us, the only parenting we did get was from our grandparents. Do any of you remember this? I can't be the only one. Draken, ever since I started to be more involved with the atheist community on YouTube, I noticed a lot of atheists just have daddy issues rather than logical rejections of deity. Yeah, true. That is true. A lot of them just have severe daddy issues or want to feel like rebels. They might as well just be Satanists, right? Maybe even better revolution. Maybe, fuck it. Maybe one of these days I'll do a show of why I'm an atheist and all that. I really tread lightly on that because I just don't want to piss on anyone's religion. I always feel like an asshole when I do it. I'm happy with myself. I am extremely comfortable with where I am, and I don't want to show any disrespect. Being an atheist is a religious position for an atheist think of God all the time. It's just in terms of denial. Wrong-o. I seriously, I do not think that way. I do not. But you're right, though. A lot of atheists do think of God in some sort of term. You've got to remember, you're not talking to your average atheist. I'm the guy who actually was moments away from death and faced with that horrible realization of, oh my God. For me, realizing I was moments away from death, I maybe only had minutes of life left, and remembering at the moment that I didn't have my life flash before my eyes. I realized everything I was and everything I would ever be and everything I ever knew and everyone I ever knew was going to be gone. And that was it. And I only had a few minutes left. Now, I was lucky I survived it. But no, that's when I knew for sure it wasn't in question. I really thought that the plug was going to be pulled, the lights would go out, and I would cease. And it's a scary thought, but it's where I'm at. And that's why I say I kind of envy you guys. You don't have that fear and have the security that you're certain there'll be something on the other side. But I wonder what relationship some baby boomers and their parents, silent and grace generation, but have David Hoffman vids. They have regret raising them. I've watched those. He's an interesting guy. Very interesting. And it does show where our parents' mindset was, wasn't it? Conant's thighs. Rats are just humans in our primal and best. I know a very noble rat who adopted 4 turtles as a son. I think partially it's that they're carrion. They don't really hunt, so they're not as angry as us humans. They're not carrion?
No, they're omnivores.
Oh, they're omnivores, but they don't really hunt anything other than bugs.
Well, but they don't go after carrion.
Oh.
No, that's a very specific.
They're scavengers. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Dominic Powell. My family is mixed in not just ethnically, but also in thoughts and opinions. We have disagreements on some things. At the end of the day, diversity of thought must be kept alive, never silenced. Damn straight. I'm an agnostic with my fingers crossed. I don't believe in the Bible, but I've seen things that feels like there's something behind it, and I need to believe in an afterlife for my sanity. I've seen some weird shit too. I would be, I realize the great big alien show is primarily fiction. It's just me acting funny, but maybe we'll cover that sometime. Because I have seen some weird shit too, and including a saucer. I really did see a saucer. And I have seen ghosts, but I think I know what they were. Do you like Ayn Rand? I'm not big on her philosophy, but I like her take on love. There's a lot she got right and a lot she got wrong. The problem with Ayn Rand is too many people approach her with the idea that you have to take it as doctrine. No, it's a philosophy like any other. You should take take it into account, think about it, and compare it to others. I mean, it's certainly not a religion. It's not something you live by. It's something you learn from. I think a really good take on Rand with a more humanist and more masculine bent is Heinlein. Read Starship Troopers and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, because he takes Rand's ideas and puts them in a more American framework of the frontier and optimism. And I mean, Rand, you got to realize she escaped the communists in Russia and had her entire life destroyed, came to Hollywood and then had her life destroyed again by communist wannabes. She had a very, very hard life. And so, like every good Russian, she was a pessimist. You know, I think it's kind of in the Russian blood, isn't it? And the Russians just tend to be a pessimistic people. But they survive, and you don't want to try to outdrink them or fight them, do you? I've been Durkin. I've been banned from many places due to not bending to the knee. I wonder if a day will be when they come for me in the real world. Well, that's why get yourself some guns. I think the day they try to start to come for us, they're going to find out a lot more of us. There are a lot more of us have been waiting than they realize, and we have better aim. Citizen of the Galaxy. I haven't read that one. In Citizen of the Galaxy, Heinlein points out that there can only be one freedom given. That points out that one can't be given freedom, and once free can never truly be given away. Give it away. Yeah, true. Sorry if I'm butchering the words. This is why I usually have Kat read these. Okay, I'm reading these last few, and then I'm calling it a night because my voice is giving out. Let's see. Computer robots. The rest of Generation X in the chat. You guys think your generation would be better? Parents and boomers? Yes. In fact, I kind of wish I was a parent, but I'm not cut out for it. And that's strictly because of, one, my career, and two, the post-traumatic stress. I am not stable enough. Kids need a stable childhood, and I could not give that to a kid, and I would feel like an asshole for not doing it. Dominic, I'm a classical liberal with center-left sentiment. Good, there you go. Good man, very good man. That's why we get along. I don't mention 24/7 because it's just a facet of me. However, some modern writers do that, and given a chance, okay. I've seen too many uncanny things to not believe in God, or at least some supernatural force beyond general understanding. Well, those are two different arguments, but yeah, there definitely is plenty way beyond our understanding. I'm convinced that a lot of the reason we can't understand things is we don't have the perception receptors to perceive those aspects of reality yet. There are clearly other aspects of our reality that, we have eyes, ears, nose, sense of touch, but I think that we also need other receptors to grasp other aspects of reality. And until we evolve those or build them, we just don't know they're there. You keep mentioning Titanium Rain. I remember a few years ago on a podcast called Ninja Mountain Scroll that you talked about a comic called Titanium Rain. Oh, really? Congrats. Cool. Glad somebody caught that. Those were cool guys. I liked them. Are they still around? 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Have you ever? No, never heard of it, never read it. I'll look it up. Do you think me and Generation Z are doomed to be extreme left SJW with the woke world? No, actually. I think Gen Z... okay, I'm not answering any more questions because I'm calling it a night after this. When I was growing up, just about every Gen Xer who had not burned their brains out on drugs or shot themselves seemed very, very aware that we were inheriting a shit show from our parents. there was a general understanding, and I remember late nights among friends where everybody would be in the room with their substance of choice on late summer nights, running bizarre shit on television, just rambling. And it always come up to, we generally thought that when we were adults, we would be inheriting environmental problems and economic problems and global problems and social problems and a broken system that was left to rot by our parents who didn't keep anything running, that they were pretty much riding on the world that the greatest generation had built, and had pretty much put the future on a charge card and left us with the debt. We all pretty much knew it. And the general consensus among most of the people I knew was that, our lives would probably suck and we'd spend our lives fixing that mess. What none of us ever foresaw was that our parents would then have one more generation of kids because they were living longer. And that next generation that came after us would outnumber us by a fuckload, and they would be more SJW and stupid than our parents were. And we didn't realize we were going to have a fight ahead of us as well as behind us. I always assumed we would be cleaning up a mess, and hopefully whoever came after us would be a little better. And I hate to say it, guys, I think Gen Z, because you guys are tough, you guys are very plugged in, and I would say at least half the millennials are pretty tough and plugged in, and you've just been struggling through being the sane person among the insane. I hate to say it, I think you guys are going to have to pick up where Gen X left off, that the mess won't be cleaned up, that we'll have done our damnedest to fix what we could, and then you're going to have to be putting up with the goddamn millennials who took over for the boomers who were crazy. And I fear for the millennials who aren't crazy, because I know the boomers who weren't crazy. People like Kat's dad, and every time you'd see him talk about it, her dad, he lived, he did things. He was one of those people who did grow up and did go into government and did give back and did try to improve the world. And every time he'd see his fellow boomers, putting the future on the charge card and screwing everything up, you'd see the look on Kat's dad's face like, kill me. It's like, I thought we'd grow out of this stupid shit, was the look on his face. Or he'd see other, flower children of his era and now grown up as yuppies, and they'd be off doing their stupid boomer things with their coexist stickers and their Birkenstocks. And the look on his face was always, why? Why, God? But no, I have a feeling Gen Z is going to have to pick up where X left off, and that the sane, your allies are going to be the sane millennials who didn't drink the Kool-Aid. And I feel bad for you guys. I really do. I thought we would have fixed it by now. I thought we wouldn't have a battle in front of us as well as behind us, but oh well. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night. I'm really blown away that 54 of you really wanted to hear me say all this. But I appreciate your listening. I appreciate your support. I guess just for pure avarice, I'm going to ask, as always, pop over to the J Ishiro Finney account on Amazon.com and either leave a review of my book Scars or buy it. It's only 99 cents. I'd love to hear what you think of that story. It really meant a lot to me when I wrote it. All right. Good night, everyone.